worship beauty in this country. If you don't believe me, check out a British television show. You ever watch the BBC? Your first impression is, where they got all these ugly people? These are the people that got the acting jobs? I feel like I'm watching an Orville Redenbacher commercial. Think about it. You ever watch a music video and the lead singer is not attractive? Aren't you kind of surprised? You're like, wow, they must be talented. Because they're nothing to look at. Salsa is like the Mexican ketchup. Marinara is the Italian ketchup, and British food is terrible. Actually, vinegar is the British ketchup. How bad is your food when adding vinegar improves it? You know what I use vinegar for? Cleaning windows. The British are our only allies. Why would he be so reckless with his edgy ketchup jokes? What if Gordon Brown was sitting in the audience right now? I do enjoy traveling to other countries, seeing how different, but essentially similar we all are. Like the UK is not that different from the US. You know, if anything, you go over there and it seems like British people are trying to be different from Americans. They're like, oh, you drive on the right side of the road, then we're gonna drive on the left side of the road. Oh, you call your mother Mom, then we're gonna call ours Mum. Oh, you call that a cookie, then we're not going to the dentist. I know that's cheap. I did notice something when I was over there. You know, British people, they don't say the before hospital. You ever notice that? They're like, hospital? I was feeling knackered, so I went to hospital. Whenever they would do that, I'd say, stop that, that's wrong and weird. Are you trying to sound like a polite caveman? And I had a friend from London. He was like, what makes you think you're doing it properly? And I go, because I'm American and we invented the English language. It was a pet peeve of mine, so I did some research. You know why British people don't say the before hospital? Because they're dicks. I know that sounds harsh, but admit it, British people always talk to Americans like we just walked into their jewelry store with 2 full bags of garbage. May I help you? Are you lost? Obviously, I love the Brits, and I would never do those jokes there. I've been lucky enough to perform in the UK a couple times, and one time I was walking through Piccadilly Circus, which, for the record, is a horrible circus. There's no animals. And no, I was walking through Piccadilly Circus, and I saw they had an M&M store, and I looked at that M&M store, and it just made me think of all the things the British have given the Americans. Like, our language, Shakespeare, the Magna Carta, and I looked at the M&M store, and I thought, now we're even. When I looked at the M&M store, I wasn't even embarrassed to be American. I was ashamed to be human. Because has anyone at any point in their life thought, when are they gonna open an M&M store? Sure, I can buy M&Ms absolutely anywhere, but I like to buy in bulk, in a pro-M&M environment. Obviously, we don't need an M&M store. We don't even need different colored M&Ms. They all taste the same. They're just bits of chocolate shaped like Advil. With an M on it. They're not even M&Ms, they're M's. We don't do that with anything else. You want some raisin and raisins? Go ahead. Grab a handful of raisin and raisins. No, I don't even know how many M&Ms or M's they would have to sell in London to justify Piccadilly Circus real estate, but this M&M store is massive in the UK. It is 3 levels, which I guess makes sense, because the first level, so you can buy M&Ms. The second level, so you can buy more M&Ms. And then the third level, so you can jump to your death. Because you wasted time in an M&M store when you were in London. By the way, I don't have any judgment. If you personally enjoy going to the M&M store, that's fine, but obviously you shouldn't vote. I was with my kids at the time, and they wanted to go to the M&M store, because little children only want to do horrible things. Kids never want to do something fun, like sit in a dark bar and drink beer. And I remember standing there with my kids, and I was aware that there were other parents with their children in the M&M store, because that's what you do as a parent. You do things with your kids because you love them. But I realized in that moment, I don't love my kids that much. I love them enough to walk by the M&M store. I would do anything for my wife. I'm aware of that. But there are people that are more romantic. Prince Edward abdicated his right to the English throne for the woman he loved. Isn't that unbelievable? He was forced to choose between the woman he loved or being King of England, and that idiot chose the broad. Now, I'm sure in that moment it was the right decision, and I'm happily married, but even in the best relationship, each person has thoughts where they go, I've made an enormous mistake. But we never thought, I could have been King of England. Do you think Prince Edward really ever got over that? Every time he had to empty the trash, he's like, the King of England doesn't have to empty trash. The King of England can chat with his ex on Facebook. Can you imagine what kind of news event that abdication was in the UK? They must have been, he's gone mad. We should get him to hospital. Jim, your British accent is getting worse. Why wouldn't you take 5 minutes and learn a good accent? It's just lazy. It's just lazy. I do sometimes lie up here. I'm not proud of it. But sometimes we all have to lie. Like, even when I tell my children not to lie, I'm kind of lying to them. Some people are like, you should never lie to a child. And those people don't have kids. Because when you have kids, you lie to them all the time. You're like, you wouldn't like this ice cream. It's very spicy. I'd share, but Santa said I can't. Now, why don't you go to sleep so I can wrestle your mom? I'm not encouraging lying. I'm just saying there are times when you need to, right? Like if you're late to meet someone and you see that they're already angry and you don't have an excuse, you have to lie. Because if you told that person the truth, they would never speak to you again. You gotta be like, hey, I gotta come clean. I just couldn't motivate to get going. I mean, eventually I could. What I'm trying to say is I don't value your time. I've identified there are 2 times when it's socially acceptable to lie. To spare someone's feelings, it's okay to lie. It's also okay to lie to cover up a murder. Allow me to explain. When we discover someone's a murderer, we also learn they've done some fibbing. But we tend to focus on the murder part. You never hear, I'm angry he killed that guy, but frankly, I'm more upset about the lying. It's the dishonesty that bothers me. Some trust has been broken. Speaking of lying murderers, I watch a lot of Dateline. I don't want to brag. Some other winners out there. If you're unfamiliar or you have a life, Dateline is a news magazine show, like 60 Minutes, but at one point, Dateline just went all in on murder. And it's usually spousal murder. Like if you watch Dateline, it appears most marriages end in murder. Every episode starts the same. They had the perfect marriage. But you know someone's getting killed. A husband, a wife, sometimes they'll get someone else to kill their spouse, which seems impersonal. It's like you took a vow, do it yourself. Anyway, I was watching this one episode of Dateline about this guy who murdered his wife. It was gruesome. I was watching with my wife on our anniversary. My wife didn't care. I mean, she wasn't thrilled I was taking notes. What are you writing down? This guy's just sloppy. It's like he's trying to get caught. If anything, this guy's plan was foolproof. What he did on his anniversary is he threw a party for him and his wife, and they invited all their friends so that they could see how happy they were. And then the next morning, he took his wife fishing. He rented a boat, he brought a cooler, some tackle, 3 concrete blocks, and a tarp. For fishing. And he would have gotten away with the whole thing. But 3 months after his wife disappeared at sea, he got engaged to a stripper, which is kind of suspicious. And to celebrate their engagement, they dropped acid, as tradition would have. And while tripping on acid, he admitted the whole thing to his fiancée. And she turned him in because she didn't appreciate the dishonesty. And as the episode ended, all I could think is, I'm a terrific husband. I've never even thought of murdering my wife. Well, I've never made plans to murder my wife. Well, I don't own concrete blocks. I can see some of you are like, Jim, I don't like the murder jokes. I don't like them. But wouldn't it be great if in a week you learned I was a murderer? Because then you could brag. You could be like, oh my gosh, we were at the taping for his special. And he had all these jokes on murder. Were they good? Not really, no. He was better at murder than comedy. If you know me, I would do anything for my wife, and that's part of my alibi. No, I would do anything for my wife, but I'm not a romantic person. I wish I was. There are moments when it's glaringly obvious. I get to travel so much doing stand-up. I did a show in Cologne, Germany, and before the show, I was walking over this bridge that went across the Rhine River, and as I walked across, I noticed there were hundreds of locks on this bridge, and each of the locks had 2 initials. And it was apparent that couples had put their lock there as a symbol of their relationship. And I looked at it and I thought, that's perfect. Nothing captures love like a rusty padlock dangling over filthy water. But it was visually spectacular, and it affected me. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this. I found myself spending the next hour just kind of looking for a hardware store in this town I had never been in. I spent an hour looking, and eventually I found a hardware store. I went in, and I bought a bolt cutter. And I went back, and I started snipping off the locks. And with each snip, I said, it's over. Over. You're free. And people were giving me dirty looks. Now, what a grand romantic gesture, right? But you know the first guy who did that was a psycho. Like, his partner or girlfriend was not a willing participant. He was like, you're probably wondering why I brought you to the middle of the bridge. In March, I'm gonna do something you'll never, ever forget. She was like, oh my gosh, are you gonna jump? No, I wanna put this lock here. I'll put it here as a symbol of our love. And soon others will do it. And the bridge will be covered with locks. But you'll know that the first lock was a symbol of our love. And the woman was like, is that my bike lock? Not anymore. Jim, that's a sad story. Hi. Yeah, I'm gonna tell him my name. Yeah, I'm gonna tell him, I'm not gonna tell him to subscribe. Because you know what? That's not what it's about. Oh, there's no more time? We have 3 teenagers, plus a 12-year-old. Plus an 11-year-old. Forecast, not great. Definitely hurricane season. And I freely admit my wife has it harder, much harder, but this whole thing is kind of her fault. These children didn't come out of my body. In a way, they're not even my kids. Now, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but that whole sperm fertilizing the egg thing, I've never seen that in person. I've seen a simulation of it. You know, how you might stage a landing on the moon. Men should be suspicious. Women discover they're going to become a parent. Men are told. Men find out they're going to be a father the same way they learn they have a terminal illness. Someone comes up and goes, "You should sit down." And men have a similar response. "How much time do I got?" Of course, with paternity tests, now we can scientifically prove who the father is, but for most of human existence, the guy just had to believe what he was told. "I'm pregnant, you're the father." I haven't been home for 2 years. It's a miracle. Occasionally you'll hear about a paternity test. You never hear about a maternity test, though. How do we really know who the mother is? The child came out of my body. Well, then you shouldn't be afraid to take a test. Okay, Jim, that's the dumbest joke of the night. That one. A little rainy out there, but it's nice. That's the temperature it's supposed to be. Remember when weather wasn't frightening? Because now if it's unseasonably warm or unseasonably cold, we all give each other a look like, this means we're all going to die. There's a flood coming. Now, admit it, when you left your house, you used to think, do I need a coat? Now you're like, should I buy a boat? I don't know much about global warming, but I do know they stopped debating it. 5 years ago, there was always a guy on TV like, there's no proof the earth is warming. And now that same guy's like, well, what are you going to do? Wait, what? The people that live on the coastline should sell their homes. To who? We'll figure it out later on. Something's happening. In 20 years, what are we going to tell our children and grandchildren? Because they're going to ask us. They're going to come to us. They're going to be like, did you know about global warming? And we're going to be like, I heard about it. It was more of a rumor back then, really. Did you protest like that Greta lady? Kinda. Yeah, there was a pandemic. We didn't really do groups. I brought my own cup to Starbucks. There's floods, there's fires, there's a pandemic. In biblical times, these would have been messages from God. Like, we don't know, God might be up there right now like, are they getting any of these messages? Is anything getting through? And God's assistant's like, no, sir. Set the entire state of California on fire. Did they get the message? One woman is saying it's space lasers, sir. What about the pandemic? I said a plague. They're blaming the guy who came up with Microsoft Word. I miss the days when you could send a plague and people would listen. Of course, the biggest reveal of the pandemic was how many crazy people there are. That was a bit of a surprise. We all knew there were some Unabombers out there, but nobody thought there were that many. Or that we were related to a couple of them. Yeah. Because everyone had that relative or friend that came out as bonkers. I no longer believe in reality. Good to know. It was like a gender reveal for insanity. The truth is no longer true. See you at Thanksgiving. I feel like it happened for me more often because I've always had friends that are eccentric thinkers, and they're normally really entertaining. They're like, Bigfoot's real, man. Bigfoot is real. But that same person at one point during the pandemic was like, Tom Hanks eats babies. Don't say that. Tom Hanks does eat babies, and if you don't believe that, then you eat babies. All right. Tom Hanks eats babies. He always seemed like a baby eater to me. I'm convinced technology's making us delusional.
The way everyone talks about going to Mars now, it's like, we're going to Mars, we're going to Mars, I can't wait to go to Mars. I don't think they were talking about you. Why do you think you're going to Mars? You haven't been to Minnesota. They weren't inviting us. I'm pretty sure they were just bragging. Jeff Bezos did take his brother to outer space. I have 3 brothers, and I don't even want to buy them dinner. I appreciate the optimism, but are we going to Mars? We put a man on the moon 54 years ago. And you know how many times we put a man on the moon after that? 0. You know why? Because we never put a man on the moon. I don't know. Maybe we put a man on the moon. I don't know. Maybe we're going to Mars. Honestly, I don't know how a microwave works. Like if someone put a gun to my head and they're like, explain the microwave, I'd be like, a light turns on, it rotates. When the bell rings, your hot dog's done. Is that close?